Thank you. As we all can see by now, this has been a busy month. It seemed to be non-stop, but when you have the right professionals in place, you're able to navigate these challenging times. Here was an explosion. There was a smell of gas. As you see, there are 3 buildings that are involved. It appears as though the origin of this explosion took place in an unoccupied building. The building next door was occupied. As it stands now, the preliminary investigation reveals that we don't appear to have anyone that was inside the building that was totally destroyed. OEM is here on the scene. Commissioner Farrell, she'll give you updates on those that were displaced in the neighboring buildings and structures that were there. In addition to that, FDNY is going to give you an update on the preliminary investigation on the origin of the explosion. So I'm joined here also with the councilman in this area, Ari Kagan. Ari, thank you for coming out to immediately respond to the needs of the people on this block. But this is still early, but from what we see now, we had an unoccupied building that was involved in this explosion. 3 buildings, as I stated, were involved. And let's get a full overview first from the Deputy Commissioner, FDNY, Commissioner Kavanaugh, and then we'll hear from Commissioner FDNY Chief Hodgins to give us the understanding, and finally we'll hear from OEM to talk about those who were impacted.
Commissioner? I have a question.
Hold on, ma'am. Listen, what happened here? I'm going to speak to your questions later, okay?
How to prevent in the future? We reportedly go to fire.
Go ahead.
Hi, Commissioner Kavanaugh, First Deputy Commissioner of Fire Department. A call came in at 7:11 this morning to FDNY Dispatch, a report of a major explosion in a house. We immediately dispatched units, 1060, a major emergency, and we arrived on scene in 3.5 minutes. As you can see behind us, and as the mayor mentioned, the building that exploded was vacant at the time or unoccupied. In the other 2 buildings, the residents were able to self-evacuate and are safely outside and being taken care of by OEM.
Good morning, John Hodgins, Chief of Department, FDNY. As stated, we had an explosion in an unoccupied building. Our units arrived in 3.5 minutes. At this time, there was nobody reported missing. All 3 buildings will need to be taken down due to structural damage. We are going to, just as a precaution, sift through the rubble of the buildings. There's no reported people missing, but just to be sure, as we pull out the debris, our units will be on the scene to look through the rubble. First 2 units did report an odor of gas, and it is under investigation. The fire marshals and police department will be doing a full investigation to determine the exact cause of this emergency.
Infrastructure in the city. We've got another natural gas explosion here, and it's been happening a lot. What can you say about that? And for the chief, just the stability of the buildings on either side?
No, it's not. It hasn't been happening a lot. This is the second one that I responded to since taking office. But we want to make sure that people are knowledgeable about if they smell gas. We're going to include and increase the amount of response that people smell gas. That's so important. That's the first sign that there's a potential problem, and National Grid responds right away when there's a smell of gas.
Chief, stability,
yes, as
and
the
then there
mayor
was that one
stated,
in Brooklyn too.
we want to, make it very. As the mayor stated, we want to make it very clear: if there is an odor of gas, you should call 911. The fire department will immediately respond to investigate. As far as the stability of these buildings, all 3 will need to be demolished due to the structural damage.
What can you tell us about the smell of gas that neighbors have been complaining about for several weeks and months? I guess National Grid came out to investigate. They didn't find anything. But have you been told about the complaints of natural gas in this neighborhood?
We have no reported, factual report of gas prior to this incident.
So neighbors said they called National Grid. I don't know if you've heard.
We have no record of that, of them calling National Grid. I know they did not call the fire department.
that's an important message. If you smell gas, should you call National Grid or should you call the fire department?
You should call the fire. You should call 911. If you smell natural gas, you should call 911.
So, Mayor, just to follow up on what Miles said, there have actually been 3 houses that have exploded. I think one was right before you took office.
Cypress Hills.
Probably Cypress Hills, the Bronx, and now here. These have all been in recent months. So this is clearly concerning to people who see this happening with more frequency. What would be your message to people about that?
Well, first of all, you know, it's crucial that we make sure that any report of smell of gas, 911, and that information has to get out to the public. Every report of smell of gas is investigated. No report is ignored. No report is put in and we just discount it. We take the smell of gas seriously, and that is something that if there was a failure to report, we're going to determine that. But if there were calls made to 911, the proper agencies are dispatched to determine if the gas is a serious matter. And I say to New Yorkers to follow that. This is a system that is successful and that's working. I've had the smell of gas on my block, and I called and immediately National Grid was dispatched or FDNY was dispatched. That's the message to New Yorkers. You smell gas, it's a unique smell, immediately call 911 so we can get to teams out there to investigate.
Is it time to move the city away from natural gas to electric?
That's a great question. That's outside my food plan. You know, I think that the proper individuals who determine that, the city council and others, to sit down and think about that. We're a strong believer that we should move to get off of fossil fuel. I believe that wholeheartedly, that we should look at other methods of heat, hot water, and running our city. And that's part of my environmental plan. But right now we're dealing with this emergency.
Thank you all.